So hello and welcome to this Desteni I Process movie hangout. And today we're going to discuss the movie Trainspotting. And so for you looking at this, you are able to participate through the question and answers function, and we will answer your questions as effectively as we're able to. And so I have with me here today three participants, and it's Valentin. Hello, Valentin from Slovenia.
Hello, hello.
And then we have Blas, also from Slovenia.
Hi, hello.
Hello. And then Reginald from Netherlands.
Hi everyone, hi.
Hello. Okay, so as I said, Trainspotting. So before we begin, I'm going to do a short synopsis for you that possibly haven't seen it. And it's about Renton. That's the main character. And he's heavy into heroin. And the movie circles around Renton being with his friends, that most of them also abuse heroin, and sort of his journey in that drug world that is made really hip and cool. And in the end, he scams. Okay, spoiler alert here, by the way. So in the end, he scams his friends and he goes on to live the normal, cool, or not cool, but the normal life. And that's about it. So now let's get going with a more in-depth discussion here. And Reginald, I will begin with asking you, that if you remember the beginning of the movie and how Renton runs through the town, and in the background he narrates like all the various details that go into a normal life. For example, mortgage, for example, car, children, family, and how that is then, shown against the backdrop of the cool life, which is then heroin. And so, yeah, what I would like to ask you is, this rebellion that Renton represents, do you see that as a solution to the so-called like boring life in the system with family, career, and things like that?
No, it isn't. I'm probably one of the examples of this myself. That I was one who really said, fuck the system, and I really went into the same experience of using drugs. Well, not heroin, but more other kind of drugs. And I actually came to a point where I really had to reinvent myself. What actually happens a little bit at the end, but what this person, this main character, actually does is he goes to this normal defined life as what we have defined as normal. But this wasn't the life actually that he preferred in the first place. So instead of looking at the point of, okay, why did I even have this reaction or this appealment to getting being a drug addict? Why did this develop? Wasn't actually considered by this main character, and this is one thing that I actually had to do for myself. Yeah, being reactionary and becoming more like rebellious towards the system, it's definitely not a way to make your life look more pretty, as this movie really portrays, as good as it gets when you go into drugs.
Yeah, so I mean, before the hangout, you were sharing a little bit about your own past, and can you sort of relate to what Renton is going through in his attempt to make his life more exciting?
Yeah, of course. It's like when you grow up, you will at some point you will ask yourself like, who am I? And then you're going to start to investigate what is actually life. And when you look at life, you compare that to all the lives that you are seeing within people. And then you just see you were born, you go to school, you get a job, you get a car, you get a house, you get children, and eventually you get sick or you just die of something. And this is the main pattern that everybody is seeing. And between all of that, you are nothing more but a slave to society, as how this world currently operates, how it works, and what is expected from you to be a good citizen. And yeah, that is not something that we like for ourselves, because this life is not what we actually see as the best thing as life could be. And so a lot of rebellious people are also looking at that point that they are really in reaction to how this world is, and through that reaction and building up through all those reactions, come eventually to a point where they will get to like, yeah, fuck the system, I do whatever I want, I will take drugs, I will make my life better in the only thing that I know is, yeah, be rebellious and do the things that society really wish you didn't do. Because if you are not participating, you are a bad citizen, and you are making it impossible to make the system, how it currently operates, work. So within that, I must say that I found out that I was quite reactionary, and only at that point I opened up the opportunity to look at the things and really make a change, because I didn't see that before. I was just doing my thing and being reactionary. You know, I didn't want a good life. I wanted the best life I could have, but it wasn't possible. And I looked then at why it wasn't possible, and made a change to, yeah, to actually change it. And eventually being also able to expand on the points and help people maybe understand where they are going and what they are currently going through. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I can relate a lot to what you're saying here, because as I grew up, I was also in that reactionary state of what the fuck is this life that is before me? I mean, I'm going to grow out old, work for half of my life, and then die. So I was like, no way. But let us consider here, and Valentin, I'll ask you this question. Do you see that there is a possibility that even though, I mean, this system offers quite limited possibilities to create ourselves a life that is enjoyable and that have meaning and purpose?
Yeah, so my experiences with drugs were almost none, so I cannot relate in the experiences of enjoying drugs. However, in my family, I had the example of my father, who made the best of his life by being creative and assisting other people and improving things, and he enjoyed this very much. So I also took a similar path, so I never got bored or tired of this life. I was involved in creative design, in graphic design, web design, photography. So life for me was a very interesting to observe, to participate in. So I never even think of drugs, of taking drugs, of having some short-term experiences. And so yes, it is possible to enjoy life. There is a lot of opportunities to express yourself, to interact with other people, to go into the details of your surrounding, because everything around you is full of life, everything is growing, developing. There's billions of living beings there who are communicating, expanding, growing. Everything is moving. So if we just open our eyes and see a little bit around us, the life can really get interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you completely there. And I must say that, I mean, for myself, I was in that bubble of, okay, this is shit. But with walking with Desteni and, you know, learning how to see what is around me and more appreciate the depth that exists in reality, I have been able to see that even though, I mean, life seemingly looks meaningless with career and all of that, I mean, if you go into it with an open mind, there's actually a lot you can learn about yourself. And Blas, how has it been for you? Do you recognize yourself in that process of, you know, opening your eyes to seeing that there is something more in the mundane and the routine of life, so to speak?
Yes, definitely. When I also started to participate, you know, in Desteni and in using the tools of like self-aware breathing and being more here in the breath, I realized that, you know, that there that I'm bored when I'm actually in my mind, believing that there's nothing to do, you know. But when I focus on what's here, I can just start observing anything and, you know, become interested in what's happening around me. So the enjoyment of life is a point that we have to, where we actually have to look at ourselves and how we have defined, you know, what's fun, what's not fun, and how we see, how we judge things around us, you know. Like this character in the movie, the Renton, he goes and sees the world as like everything is boring, and he, in the beginning, he starts to explain these regular things, you know, that people do, and he perceives it as um, a, like things that he has to do, you know. It's like boring stuff. So he then creates this experience for himself when he sees all these things as boring and hard, and, you know. So we actually have to take these things back to ourselves and look into ourselves and how we define things, and then we can actually see that we can stop defining things as boring and hard to do, and, you know, so we can really enjoy basically anything when we remove the definitions that we had about them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. And you
I would
know,
also
as
like
oh,
to add something to
yeah,
that.
sure,
You
Ivan.
know, it's like also a more practical point that I've gone through was I stopped using alcohol, and a lot of people would definitely relate to this. Is that imagine yourself going out and not using alcohol anymore. You know, that would be like a big no if you would ask me when I was just 16. Um, but I've been off alcohol now for like 6 years, and um, it was not that I was an abuser of alcohol, but I used it to entertain myself. I used it as entertainment. When I went to a bar, I wanted to drink beer. You know, that was the good life, drinking beer with your friends, and it could be boring without it. You know, people are saying like, "Oh, you're you're not as fun as you used to," etc., etc., etc. But this is also the point in the beginning, because you have so much related to you being within this experience of drinking alcohol that you find it boring to just be there. But now, after some time, and you go out without alcohol, you will actually enjoy yourself, because that will become the norm. That is what you are, and that is where you want to make the best for yourself, and not just staying in your mind, like stating to yourself, well, this is boring, I wish I just could drink a beer, or wish I was who I was back then, because that is not something you really want. But you want um, to be within your frame of expectancy, your frame of reference, and that is something that is really difficult for people who are addicts to withdraw from, because they seek that that familiarity, that state of where they are familiar with the situation, and these are the things like the experience that we have, that through that we make ourselves really addicted to the substances. And this is also what happens with the main character, where he started again with the drug. You know, he was like doing this thing within the drug deal. He was like, oh well, I will take that shot, like a martyr kind of type. But actually, he really wanted to do that because he found his life to be pretty dull and boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I found interesting also about this perspective that Renton have is particularly in relation to his parents. And if we look at how his parents are portrayed in the movie, it's like they're portrayed as very boring, very one-dimensional. You know, they sit with their meals in front of the TV and they laugh at boring things, while Renton is living his apparently full and cool life. And I mean, I can relate a lot to this because for me, when I was younger, I saw my parents as these, you know, boring types, and also adults in my reality. Most of them were like boring, and I didn't ever talk to them or get to know them. And it's fascinating that now, when I'm starting to open up these relationships and ask these questions that are more in depth. For example, you know, what made you make the decisions to create the life in which you are now, that I really learn a lot of cool things, and that people are not what I thought they were when I grew up. That's an interesting point. Okay, so Reginald, I would like to ask you if you see this lifestyle that Renton lives, you know, this freedom lifestyle, is it supportive or do you see it as consequential?
Well, it's definitely consequential. I cannot say that in my period that I went through that it really made me a better human. It did make me see that there is something really wrong with this with this world, or actually wrong with how I lived my life back then. And it could be consequential in various things, you know, and not to make it a positive or a negative thing. No, I made some decisions, and through that I got in a lot of gaming, used a lot of weed, used a lot of alcohol. Those were all decisions based upon reactions, and looking at that back and seeing that as bad is not something that would do the situation any justice, and would only make it more judgmental from any perspective. But if you look at the greater scale, you see that we shouldn't be so focused on people who are using drugs and making them look like weak and bad. It's actually, we have to look around us and see, okay, what is it actually in this world that contributes to people wanting to use drugs and seeing that as a solution for their problems, because it is consequential for them personally, and also on a global scale, it's quite a problem. You know, all the criminality and all the people who are not working or jobless or homeless, even because of the substance abuse that they want to maintain or have to maintain because their body is addicted to it. I think because we judge them too often, that this is also not helping us to get to a point of understanding of how to make a better world, or change this point, even because we are just looking at the judgments that we have, And this is also the point that everyone who has a drug addiction has to be aware of. You know, don't be so judgmental about your own addictions. Just look at them and seeing it as a phase that you are going through, and you've made some bad choices, but it's never too late to stand up and learn from your experience. You know, and not making it something wonderful. That's also just going into a different polarity. But yeah, just see things as they are and start asking questions as to how to stop the consequences. Yeah.
That's very cool. And yeah, I know people in my world that they have managed to stop drugs, not through judgment, but actually through observing what thoughts that drove them to take the drug to begin with. So, Blas, I would like to ask you, as a reasonably young man, I think,
Yeah.
what do you think that this movie sort of initiates in young people? Is it like a pro-drug movie, and what do you think about that?
Well, it greatly depends on on the person who is watching, on how if you already have some judgments towards drugs, or if you are or if you never tried drugs and you want to. Because, for example, when I was young, or younger, I was already very judgmental towards drugs or people who use drugs, and I saw it as like a very bad thing that I don't want to do. So if I would watch this movie, like 10 years ago, I would just be like, okay, this is something. I mean, it's also portrayed in the movie as that the addiction is bad, that you have to suffer when you stop using drugs. So I would just go with that, and see, okay, this is really something that I don't want to do. But if someone is like very interested in the feeling of how do you experience like a certain drug, then he would, or one would probably just overlook that part and go into that desire. Oh, but it's so cool, they use drugs and have fun and they are in a state of like bliss, and I want to experience that. So it depends on the person how one takes the movie.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, were you done?
yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I noticed that as well, that in the movie they connect the heroin experience with like very positive words, such like orgasm, and I mean, they portray it as a sort of awesome experience. And for me, when I grew up, it had a definitive impact on the decisions I made in relation to drugs, and it was not very supportive in that regard. So, I mean, Valentine, what do you see in relation to this? Do you see that a movie that portrays drugs in this way can have negative impact on people that are watching it, and that are young, malleable, and that haven't sort of made up their mind yet?
Yeah, of course. Movies are example for young people who do not have their own experiences, and they believe that what they see is mostly true. And of course, this statement like that heroin is better than having sex is certainly a statement that makes them think and wants them to try. However, what I have learned within Desteni process is that we actually experience sex through the mind, through the energy, and drugs simply enhance those energies. And there is more to sex than just experiencing these orgasmic energies. It takes physical attention to actually participate in sex, to be focused here, to breathe effectively, and not to engage in the mind. So if someone is focused here in the reality during the sex, sex can become much more interesting than any drug there is out there.
Yeah, exactly. And for those interested more about that, because it's quite a vast topic, I suggest investigating Eqafe and the interviews and relationships that they made in regards to sex and masturbation.
Yeah.
And now we have some question here from Yogan, and well, Reginald, you'll be given the, well, I'll ask you this question. So can you relate to the life of a drug addict, either directly or indirectly?
Well, not exactly as a real addict as you see in this movie. It's more like I was really addicted to weed and a lot of gaming with that, and also using alcohol with that, or going to the club and always used alcohol for yeah, you know, getting drunk instead, and having that that vibe that I thought that my life needed. So can I really relate to how this really was portrayed in the movie? No, not really. But I know that there are a lot of bad cases which you can see in a lot of documentaries, where you can see that this life is really really real. And even though it's portrayed in this movie as something extreme, because that's often what movies do, or it is Walt Disney, something miraculous, or something really bad. These bad movies are often a portrayal of a reality, which is one of the extremities that is actually existent within this world, which we shouldn't be forgetting about, even if we are having a good life, that these things actually exist, and that there is a bigger problem as to why these people have become addicts in the first place. So that's always the point that I want people to focus on. Like, okay, what has made this come into reality? What was its origin point? Why did it eventually happen? Instead of looking at people who are actually the consequences of the choices that they have made because of the reactions that is here in this world, which isn't Walt Disney.
Yeah. And I mean, I can take it back to the point of realizing that in a sense we're all drug addicts. I mean, if you take a more expansive view of the word drug addict, we're able to see that we do all have our addictions. And it might be internal addictions. Some are addicted to fear, addicted to love, addicted to the feeling of money, security. I mean, some are addicted to adrenaline. And in a way, all of these addictions are consequential, because, you know, the funny thing is that when you get this feeling that you follow, instead of looking at reality, you are likely to create some physical consequence for yourself that you didn't intend for. So we have another question, and it's from Anna. And so she's asking whether you see any, or Blas, I'll ask you this question.
Okay.
Do you see any correlation between the male role model that in movies such as Trainspotting and Fight Club, where there is a glorification of going to the edge, that we see now with these online challenges where males burn themselves, etc.?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I haven't seen these challenges on the internet, But yeah, I mean, if if people watch movies like this all the time, that go into extremes and present things as extreme things as cool and interesting, then people or children who grow up watching these movies will also, or at least some of them, will try the same things. So it's the movies tend to have this effect to um, well, we as people who watch movies, we allow the movies to have this influence on us, so that then we go and try to live out many things that they portray in the movies. So in this sense, I would say that yes, this can be like a correlation between the movie characters and what people are now doing in real life, trying to be edgy and cool and do something crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I can relate that to this tendency we all have to follow instead of being a leader. And it really goes to show that many of us, if not all of us, have this inherent programming that instead of we getting to know ourselves and who we are in this world, we simply copy someone that we find to be cool instead of, questioning, okay, I mean, is it common sense to burn myself? No, it would probably hurt. Do I want to hurt? No, it's not my preference. I mean, in doing that sort of questioning, one create oneself to be a leader instead of a follower, and one, get to know oneself. And
Yeah, it's also that in in this point, males are always the ones who actually do these stupid things. It's like really cool to be irresponsible. And the more irresponsible you are, the cooler you are, and the more status you will get from your friends. And that is also a point which I actually wanted to make about this movie, is that um, also surround yourself with people who will bring the best in you and who are daring you to become more than you have become at that point. Because you also see in this movie that his friends are actually where this main character went somewhere else and he made a life, then his friends from the past came back to his in his life, and the pattern started all over again, and this time a little bit worse than it already was in the beginning. And that is also why people should surround themselves with friends, real friends, people who actually dare to say like, hey, okay, what you're doing now, that's just stupid, instead of them like, whoa, dude, it was really cool of you to do that, it was such nonsense. That idea of those people who I don't know, there was something on MTV some years ago.
Jackass.
Jackass, exactly. Like those are the role models of a lot of youngsters. Like they find that very cool because that gives them that kick, that energetic kick. Like, whoa, this is this is unheard of. This is not how it's supposed to be. But somehow they get addicted to that shock initially, and that's also in reference again to your point about everyone being a drug addict to, for instance, an energy and a feeling, an experience. And that's the same thing. If we try to follow that point of that kick, that high, that unexpected point within us, when we are looking, for instance, at Jackass, yeah, then you will, then you can follow a pattern of becoming addicted to it and eventually become really irresponsible yourself. And yeah, that's also the main point that we are now seeing. You have to dare to be stupid. You are cool when you're stupid. If you are responsible, then you're just boring. And this is something that we really have to change. We don't even know exactly how to be responsible, how to teach responsibility to our children, because only thing what we are teaching them is, it's boring. You have to. This is how it works, and you must. Instead of giving them the opportunity to understand why the things are working as they do, and how to make a better life for yourself, how not to react, but to make best in the situation, even if you don't like to. And if you don't like to and you have reactions, how do you deal with it? You know, so people at Desteni actually have come to that point where they are taking responsibility to get to know themselves, understand themselves, and wanting to get the best out of their lives, all in their own personal way, in walking their own personal challenges. And that's also cool about our group, that we can look at points and we might know, like, okay, you went through this, how did you do that? And that we can get a common sense answer at a point like, okay, this is what they have actually walked, instead like, okay, they are now dictating a book and I must copy it. And you really get that sense of understanding.
Yeah, and that's very cool what you said about how we tend to follow the cool people. I mean, growing up, I had an aptitude for studying and for learning things, and it was a cool potential. But what did I do? I mean, I tried to follow the cool people and sort of, you know, do the cool things, and really threw my potential and my gifts in some sort of shit pile, which wasn't very cool. And it goes to show, I mean, we can see this in movies like the nerds. They are presented as, you know, you don't want to be with the nerds. While really, if we look at, you know, who makes the most of their life in terms of learning, in terms of investigating, it's actually the nerds. So, I mean, if you want to get cool friends, go and meet some nerds, because probably they will be really interesting. Okay, so we have a question from Ruben and Valentin. I'll ask you this. Does the title of the movie talk about opportunities, catching a train opportunity or letting it pass by, like the parents of Renton said to him in the beginning of the movie? Every chance you've had, son, you've blown it, stuffing your veins with that.
Yeah, I did not quite get the concept of the movie title Trainspotting, because it was not any trains there. Well, there was some, but it was like a metaphor. So, like, yeah, losing your life chance, and now you have to live with what you get, what you have. Yeah, so it is important to take advantage of every opportunity in life, and opportunities are all around us. If we are in our minds and thinking in our constant mindset about our beliefs about how the life is, then, well, actually, we are kind of riding a train, but the train that drives us to our minds, and we do not see life because we are moving so fast. So we need to go out of this mind train and stay calm, move slowly, and then we can see a lot of things and a lot of opportunities that are out there. And we can seize these opportunities to improve our lives, to enhance our lives. So this is my perspective on this question.
Okay. Well, let's move on. And we have a question from Marlene. And she asked, and Blas, you can have this question. How does the motto of this movie, quote, choose life, is diverted into a rather boring idea of having a mundane life, so to speak? And how would you redefine this choosing life motto? And what does it actually imply?
Um, well, uh, well, in the movie, as I explained before, you know, the character sees these regular things as boring. So, if we want to, you know, choose a life, then we have to first look at the life that we have and how do we define our life and how do we see it, and then you know, remove the definitions that we use to limit ourselves, and then we can actually see that we can you know, define our life or our purpose in life however we want. You know, it's not like because I don't know, we are now just, as Valentin said, just riding a train and follow the emotions and energies, and we don't really get to, you know, sit down with ourselves and decide what do we really want to do. We just kind of go with the flow. So we have to, you know, slow down and remove the perceptions of what life is, and then we can actually look at it with the fresh eyes and then actually decide what we want to do in life. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, we have to open our eyes to the possibilities that are here in order to make an informed decision about what we would like life to be. And really, what we would like our life to be, it's really up to our own creative possibilities and what we want to do.
Can I also make something or say
Yeah,
something
sure.
about this point? You know, in this point about choose life, and that is diverted into a boring idea. Yeah, this is actually what everyone has. Like, life is really boring, or they go to a polar opposite. Like, well, life is great. You know, to me, life is what is here. If you look at this whole world, that is life. And then I have a personal life within this bigger scale, and through that I am trying and looking for ways how to make things better, how to seek and see the problems and bring solutions for it to change it, to make this life for all, so the greater life, to how to make this picture better, how to leave a better world when I die. And so life is actually now defined only as a set of patterns. You know, you are born, you go to school, you go to work, you get kids, and you die. That's what people see as life. That's how I saw life. But that's nothing more than a pattern. It's not what life is. You know, life can really be created from where we set ourselves to, as the goals that we set ourselves to. And this is not something that is written in stone. It can change every day, and that is life. And we have to cope with that, and it's not by seeing it as a pattern, a dull pattern. Yeah, okay, there are stuff that we have to do, but this is the pattern that we have created all over time by humanity creating this all over time, and now we are here born in this world and we have to deal with it. So if we don't think this is the ideal life, we have to change the pattern. We have to create something that is worthwhile. And so if you think that life is boring, then come up with ideas to make life the best thing possible for everyone. No exception as to where you are born. And this, I think, is one of the biggest challenges you can get for yourself, not in some kind of like saving the world, but knowing why things have happened and what you are doing to contribute to the current pattern, and even see how you can change this pattern so it will be something new, something worthwhile, something that can stand within the test of time, something that hasn't the need to be changed. But if it's changed, that it's good, that it's the best for everyone. Yeah.
That's very cool. And I see that the time is up, so we'll that will be the last for this hangout this night. And before I end, I want to say that the next hangout will be Friday, 22nd of August, and at the same time. And it's Joanna that will be hosting that hangout, and it will. The topic is the movie Limitless. Okay, and I'll thank you guys for being here. Great to have you here, my participant.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, and you that have watched, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time in 2 weeks, and in 1 week with Joanna then. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.